Hi again. Thanks for joining me in another diary entry of this Diary of a Non-Famous Actor. Because it's my day off, I am feeling lazy and don't want to do my taxes, so I'm going to catch up on Oscar films. Yay! So I will be doing a Does It double feature Oscar edition. So I believe of the 10 Best Picture nominees, I've only seen 4. So I have checked off Sinners, Marty Supreme, Train Dreams, and what's the other one? Frankenstein. Frankenstein was the other one. I think I'm gonna start with F1, which I'll just say F1. I was surprised that it was a Best Picture nominee, but like I at the same time haven't seen it, so like maybe after I watch it I'll be like, yeah, I totally understand why it's in there. I don't think it's gonna win, but I am curious though. I missed it when it was in theaters, and I know the main thing that people talk about is the sound design. They say the sound design is incredible for this film, so I'm looking forward to that. And again, I'm not in a theater, of course, but you know, we have a pretty good speaker setup at home. I do wish that we had like a sound bar as well, or even something like in the back, because basically like the TV is like right in front of me over there. But you know, I think we'll still get a really good quality sound for that. I just realized with this framing here, it looks like, just because of how I happen to put my Dr. Pepper, it looks like it's like product placement. This is not sponsored by Dr. Pepper, but the Zero Sugar Blackberry is pretty good. Assuming that I can find it, we'll be starting with F1, and then we'll go on to sentimental value. And I'll cozy up with this blanket, my cat nearby, and my not sponsored Dr. Pepper. And then I'll chat about it afterwards. Okay, I just finished F1. I have so many thoughts, a lot of good thoughts. Oh, by the way, this is Lily. So yeah, first point that I noticed, and I don't know if Apple has had any films of theirs in the past that have been Best Picture nominees as far as like streaming services go, but if this is Apple's first time, I think it's a really good choice. Some of the movies that I've watched on Apple TV, as well as some of their shows, they all have a very distinct production quality, and I don't know exactly how to describe it. And it's not that it all looks the same necessarily, because, you know, I can look at any one of their awesome sci-fi shows, or F1, or, you know, Ted Lasso, or even The Studio, and they all have like different production designs that are very unique and specific to their the world of that show, but they also all have this sort of like, the only way I can describe it is like a very sleek quality. It's like as if somebody at Apple looked at some of their Apple products, like, you know, one of their MacBooks, or freaking, I don't know, like one of their like nicer iPhones or something, and they were like, how can we like take this vibe and just put it on screen? Because that's what they do every time, and I don't hate it. I think it's very nice. I think everything looks really, really good. So then as a whole, I think this movie did an excellent job at introducing the audience to the world of F1 racing. I think that sometimes sports movies, they have varying levels of quality and like how well they explain how things work in this world, especially for those people who don't really know much about the sport. And as someone, I really enjoy watching racing, but I don't watch it a whole lot. Like, I don't go out of my way to watch it, but I've always thought that F1 was fascinating, and I always thought it'd be cool to like go to a race in person someday, whatever. So this was my first time seeing any sort of media that actually dove into it a little bit more, and I was so fascinated. I was so captured. There is a lot of interesting technology that is used in the sport. I mean, without getting like too much into spoilers and whatnot, they would be practicing in something that would, I just think it looks like a miniature version of the volume, which the volume is basically a very tech savvy, very immersive looking green screen that's used Hollywood. Like they've used it for Star Wars films, like newer Star Wars films, The Mandalorian. They've used it for Marvel movies, plenty of other things at this point, and it's very, very cool. And so it's like a miniature version of that they were using to practice. And at one point, one of the characters is asking to pull up footage so they can practice on this screen this exact moment that they messed up in a previous race. And I was like, wow, I don't know if they do that in real life. Like if that technology is available for these drivers, but that is so freaking cool. Like that is insane. It's insane to think about. I also have to commend them for doing a great job at building tension. What I've learned in different screenwriting classes and whatnot is that tension, being able to build and release tension, is what's going to keep audiences engaged. And oh yes, it's almost time for dinner. I think they did a really good job at finding multiple ways of creating and releasing that tension. So not just in the writing, I really liked how they would cut the different action shots during the races, and they did this all throughout. It was never too jarring. I think they cut at just the right time. They utilized a lot of great perspective shots, so it's not always just looking at the racer or the car. Like sometimes there's a POV shot, lots of different things. And so, I mean, there was one part where it's like I could feel my body tensing because of how they were building that tension in the race, and then something went wrong and I literally was like, oh shit. Like, and I don't normally say these things out loud, my reactions. So the fact that happened, I was like so invested. Another thing that was unexpected, but I really appreciated, was how the female characters were written. Naturally, there weren't as many female characters, and that was probably to be expected because I would imagine, like many sports, that it's a male-dominated field. And I mean, they even say that in the movie. I believe the actress playing the lead female is Carrie Condon, and her character, she says it in the movie how, you know, she is like the first in her position female technical director of a race, of a team, and you know that motivates her to do a lot of different things. I just love how that situation was handled and how she was so realistic. It was aspirational, it was interesting, female, because again, like, it's this world that I already didn't know about, and then like to see this dynamic was really fascinating. There was another like smaller plot, wasn't in the movie as much for timing and whatnot, but she was part of the pit crew, and that was really cool to see. I thought they handled the female characters really well. And the last thing I'll say on this one is that in general, acting across the board, lovely, wonderful. Brad Pitt is always amazing. I really liked this role because, you know, they go back to the message so many times about, his character's asked this question so many times of, what is it about it being, why does he race, basically? And there is a lot of mystery around his character, and at least for me, it's not necessarily answered, which maybe some people would hate that, but I liked it a lot. And I could tell that, you know, Brad Pitt, this role, he had such a rich inner world and inner dialogue for this character. And that, like, I think it's a great example of like one of those things where the audience might not catch all of what you're thinking and feeling. Most of the time, people will be able to sense and see that there are layers to a thing, whether it's the character, script, whatever. And that alone draws people in and makes people engaged. So overall, I looked at my list for 2025 and I put F1 at number 6. So just above K-pop Demon Hunters, just below No Other Choice. I would love to know your thoughts about that position or thoughts on the film and expanding on any of those points. Okay, well, plot twist, the internet lied to me. Apparently, the three-point ball is a great equalizer because all four of these teams have players that can... My God. Not only is sentimental value not on Mubi, but also I thought Mubi was free, but I think I mixed that up with Tubi. Instead, we're pivoting and we're gonna try to find Bugonia. Yas, Bugonia is on here, so we're gonna watch that. All right, I'm back. I'm done with the movie. I have noodles. I've changed. And yeah, what a movie. My husband was not kidding when he said that Weird Yorgos is back. I guess I have never seen The Lobster or Killing of a Sacred Deer. Those are two other films of his. I've heard that they are very strange. I still want to watch them, but I've only seen The Favorite and Poor Things. I did really enjoy this movie. And so I guess just to start out with, without any spoilers, essentially this movie follows two cousins who kidnap a high-level CEO on the basis of potentially false information. And yeah, I was enjoying it. The first third, I think, I was maybe not as into it, but I would say second, third into like the final act, like I was absolutely hooked. And I think it was because of the twists that were in it, so I commend them for that. But here are a few extra features that I really enjoyed about it. My husband was actually off camera, but he left. So I wonder if it's because of secondhand embarrassment. First thing I noticed is that the... Is that the truth?
I left because I'm farting?
Anyway. First and foremost, the first thing I noticed was the music. The music was very intentional, and it was very noticeable for me personally because it was quite the contrast. The music is very orchestral, and that's very much a contrast to the environment and what's going on with these characters. I don't know if this was intentional, but it felt like the music was very reminiscent of more of a kind of 1980s, maybe early 90s sci-fi pick, but like a Steven Spielberg sort of like alien type movie or something like that. You know, something that's very like blockbustery, which I do think seeing what was happening on screen, which definitely was more mundane versus the swelling of orchestral music, I felt like it really reflected the state of mind that the main character, played by Jesse Plemons, what he was experiencing, or what I imagine his character was experiencing. So I thought that was really, really cool and a really great use of music in that regard. And even outside of the composed music, the choice of songs that, you know, are just like regular pop hits, you know, that was also very intentional. Like I could tell it was very intentional, and that's just smaller things like that that I especially appreciate. And that also goes into costuming. So a lot of times people will tend to look at costumes and costumes tend to get recognition when it's either historical or something in the fantasy sci-fi realm. But, you know, this is set on Earth in very pretty much ordinary circumstances. And I think it takes real talent to select costumes that are very distinctive and really say a lot about the character and what they're going through, but, you know, just in the confines of everyday wear. So whether that's through intentional color choices, the way things are cut, the way things drape and fit on the actor. You know, that's all has to be taken into account, especially for anything that is in real life. But my biggest takeaways for Bugonia was one, the acting, and two, the specific twists that are written into the script. And one, Emma Stone, we all know that she's so good. I mean, she's been around for a long time now, but I feel like every time I watch her in something, she continually impresses me with the range that she has. And even within Yorgos's movies, she's just so good. I think that she has done an incredible job at not being funneled into one type of role or even like a few types of role. Jesse Plemons, of course, totally fantastic. And after watching this movie, definitely unfortunate that he didn't get nominated for Best Actor. I don't know if he would have won. I don't even know if he would have been my choice for the winner, but he should have gotten that recognition. It is just so good. Also, let's see, I have his name written down. Aidan Delvis, who plays the cousin. I wasn't sure exactly if he was on the spectrum in real life, which he is, and I think that's really cool that they cast him. And I don't know if he was written that way in the script. I would have to check out the screenplay, but awesome that they cast him in that role. I think he did a great job with the material. And then there is this technique that I've seen. So in the world of screenwriting, there are different techniques that people will go with when it comes to how to write and outline and everything else. One of the most popular ones is doing a beat sheet developed by Blake Snyder. Some people really like Dan Harmon's story circle, and Dan Harmon, he is the person behind the series Community and Rick and Morty. But then there's another one that I have seen that is not as involved. It doesn't have like a bunch of steps like the other two. And I cannot remember who came up with this concept, but essentially they refer to it as a Z. So it's basically you have the start of the story, and then actually let me do it on the other side. Z. So you have the start of the story here, and then you hit the end of the first act, and there's supposed to be a shift that happens that moves the characters into the other direction. So you get on there, and then the end of Act 2, something else happens, and then it boom moves the trajectory over into Act 3 and the ending point. And there's essentially supposed to be, like 3 different moments where you're just like suddenly like shifting, doing a whole 180, whatever. And I feel like this story was a really good example of that concept. So at this point, I haven't decided where exactly I'm putting it on my Letterboxd 2025 list. But then as far as does it double feature? Does F1 and Bugonia double feature? I think the first thing when I'm determining that is figuring out if there are any sort of thematic similarities, which maybe you can say that about most movies that you put together. I don't know. 2 things I guess that I came up with is, one, there are moments of fuck capitalism in both. Definitely more so in Bugonia. Like, that is a bigger theme for sure. There is a point of that in F1, but without going into too much detail, that's very much something that's toward the end of the movie. So there is that. I guess you could also say that I did have oh shit moments in both films. I did have an oh shit moment for Bugonia, but I think when you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So those 2 things relate. But that being said, are those enough to make it a double feature? No. I mean, like, go ahead if you want to watch both of them. Absolutely. I wouldn't recommend this pairing if you are doing a double feature. I would probably put Bugonia with something else, and F1 with another thing. And that's it. So I would love to know what your thoughts are on either of these movies, this combination, if there's any other double feature that you want to see and hear thoughts on, and whatever else. That's awesome. I do have a lot of fun making these. There's other stuff to come on here as I, experiment with doing different film related things. And if you like what you see here and everything else, and want to follow along for more diary entries, definitely do all the things like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.